Well, good morning everybody, and here we are back again in Sally's kitchen. Nice to have you along. Now today I'm cooking for my elderly parent. What I'm doing is a meatloaf. I'm basing it on two recipes that Jamie Oliver's done in the past, simply because I don't have all the ingredients for either of them. So today I'm going to use as a base, in my tin, I'll be using celery and a leek. I'm going to roast those off in the oven. And then for the meatloaf itself, we've got some fresh herbs. So I've just picked out of my garden this lovely little piece of sage. My sage is in full flower at the moment. You can imagine it out there. It is very beautiful. And I'm going to use rosemary over here and some parsley. But you could also use thyme if you've got it. You could pop in even some mint if you wanted to. It wouldn't go amiss. So, minced beef, that's going to be the basis of the meatloaf. I bought this in Waitrose when they were 3 for £10, but lo and behold, I saw a load of them being sold off cheaply for 99p. So consequently, I bought 6 of them and popped them in the freezer. So essentially, I've paid £1 for or 99p for my 400 grams of mince. We're also going to put onions and carrots in there. We'll need an egg to bind it. I will have to get some nice breadcrumbs to go in there, and tomato puree. I might even pop some tomatoes in, or some sun-dried tomatoes. So there we go. I've got my ingredients, and now I'm going to get cracking, and you can come and join me when I put it all on the sizzle. Okay, so now here we are. I'm about to put my tray with my base for the meatloaf into the oven. So that's my leeks and celery, a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper on there, not too much, remembering Dad, of course, and a little bit of salt, and then roast in the oven 30 minutes. 30 minutes should do that, and then I'll put it out. So that's what we're going to use as a base, as per Jamie's instructions. Now, carrots and onions, just diced up, 1 carrot, 1 medium onion, and pop that straight in the pan there. So we've got this on a medium to low heat. The reason for that is we don't want them burning, we don't want them browning, we just want them to soften nicely in that olive oil, and then we'll give that about 10 to 15 minutes, and I will come back to you then. Okay, so here we are. I've mixed my herbs in with the carrot and the onion, and now what I've got to do is pop that in this bowl and let it cool before I can add the meat to it. So pop that in there, sit it down, should be cooled in about 10 minutes, and then the rest of the meat will be ready to come, the leeks and the celery will be ready to come out of the oven, and we can get cracking with pushing this meatloaf together. The next bit, we've got our nice cooled vegetables there, the onion and the carrot. Into that, we've got some mozzarella. I'm going to use half a ball of mozzarella. We literally just tear pieces into there. So mozzarella going in. No need to be too worried about what shapes and sizes. You've got 2 big clumps, but it is all going to get mixed up, so don't worry about that one. Then I need a teaspoon of seeded mustard. Put that in. I'm going to pop an egg in. So here we go with the egg. And then I'm going to add the meat, and last of all, a few breadcrumbs, and mix the whole thing up. So in goes the meat, coming apart nicely. I did defrost this earlier. What I might do is mix it up now, and then I'll be popping in a few breadcrumbs in a little bit. See you in a while. So, back we go. I've got my mince mixed in. Now what I should have said is it was 2 packs of mince, so that's 800 grams. And to this, I'm adding some Paxo breadcrumbs, just so that it helps it bind together. Nicely mixed in. A few more of those for good measure. Don't want it falling apart. That's the worst thing about a meatloaf, when they don't hold their shape. Okay. Right. This is the good bit. Scrunch it together. Now, I'm going to make this into 2 separate meatloaves because there's no way that Dad can get through one of these whole. What I've done is I've brought out my leeks and celery. I'm going to push those to the side. Make space for the meatloaf to sit in the middle of this tin. So there we go. Those pushed aside. Now we're just going to shape this into a rustic little loaf. Make it quite uniform so that it can cook evenly. And then pop that in the centre. I'm going to give it another little season. Oops. I actually think that I probably need to just wipe the hands a little bit more salt and pepper. That's lovely. And now let's go in with our bacon. So this really should be streaky bacon. Unfortunately, I don't have any in the fridge. And so I'm going to turn these into strips. Keep that one going down like that. Right, and what I'm going to do is a little bit of crisscrossing. So we lay that one across there. Oops. The
government says it has put in place unprecedented help for business, including loans and rate relief.
One across there.
Downey is the owner of the
This piece here.
In London. At the end of June, the lease forfeiture moratorium
Here.
If it's not extended, there's going to be a rent apocalypse.
One more piece to hold everything down over there. Another piece to hold it down. Yeah. Lovely. I think that looks pretty good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is drizzle quite a bit of olive oil on it. We don't want this drying out in the oven. We don't want it sticking to the bottom. So, nice good drizzle of olive oil. And then I should cover it with foil. Unfortunately, I don't have my foil here, so... Okay, so we have our foil. Make sure it's nice and tight. And into the oven for 30 minutes. So there we go. Into the oven. We've got our oven at 180. Turn that down, it was a little bit higher when I was roasting those vegetables, and I'll come back in 30 minutes. At the end of our first half hour of cooking, I just wanted to show you a couple of things though. So I've got half of my mixture left, and I've just covered it with my reusable stretch to fit storage covers. These are fantastic to stop you using all that cling film, so why don't you get one yourself? You can also use them as shower caps if you need to. Now you might have noticed that I only used half of my mozzarella ball when I tore it into the mix. So I'm going to pop that. I could have left it in its own container, but I'm going to pop it in there. And look at this, that's one of those Charlie Bingham's pie dishes that you can all buy ready-made. And there, my stretch to fit cover Absolutely perfect. It'll go straight in the fridge and that will keep it nice, and I can wash that and reuse it. So I think we should all be doing a little bit more of this and a little bit less plastic. Now for the sauce, we need a tablespoon of blackcurrant jam. I don't have any blackcurrant jam, so what I'm using is red currant jelly. It tastes just as nice. You know, that currant flavour, you really, oh, it's just yummy. I'm mixing that with my lovely chicken stock that I just prepared earlier. And then into that, we also need about half a tablespoon, half a dessert spoon of tomato puree. Not too much, we don't want to overdo it with the tomato flavour. I could have, what I was thinking, rather than using puree, and if I hadn't had the puree, I might have just chopped up some tomatoes and popped them in with the leek and the celery that I've got going on there in the bottom. But today I just decided I haven't got that many tomatoes left and I don't want to have to go shopping. So I thought I would just use the puree as it said. It did say roasted sun-dried tomato puree. I don't have that, so it's just plain old tomato puree. Okay, so here we go. Half an hour into the cooking time. Let's get this meatloaf out. Nobody's to look at my oven. It's not the most clean at the moment. We'll get there. Right, let's whiz off the... Whew, that was a bit hot. There, smoky flavours from that bacon. Isn't that looking just delicious? Now I think you're thinking, oh, but that bacon's not crispy. Well, you just wait till the end. It will be. So into this we pour our stock. It's not too well mixed, but I tell you what, it'll all dissolve in the heat in the cooking, so I'm not too worried about that. It'll all mix in. And that is now going back in the oven, lid off. I've got to be very careful because this is hot and it's quite full of liquid. Some of the liquid will evaporate as it's cooking. Hopefully we're going to get a nice crusty, crispy bacon going on there, but a very, very moist meat pie in the middle. So I'll see you in another 30 minutes. Okay, so here we are, end of the cooking time. So 30 minutes to let it crisp up. Let's have a little look and see how we are. Oh yes, look at that. One lovely, oh my goodness, and there's Max. Max is my usual, he just needs to check that I'm getting it right in the kitchen. Okay, enough of Max. This is looking lovely. And I think that we are right to go. What I'm going to do, basically that juice to me is just looking a bit thin. So normally what I'd do is I'd take the meatloaf out, take all my little bits of celery and leeks out, pop them in a bowl on their own, but then reduce down that sauce. However, in the oven, Max, go away. In the oven, I have 2 more dad-sized, stop it, you two, dad-sized meatloafs here, which I've just been cooking for half an hour, much in the same way as I did this one. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to transfer those into this juice so it can reduce down a second time around, and take my larger meatloaf. I've got my little dish here that I'm going to pop it in. I'm hoping that it won't fall apart, but you never know. And if it does, it does. And does it matter? No. Oops, because it will still be beautiful. So here we are, one lovely meatloaf. We could slice that and serve it straight away. I'm going to pop out my veg, and I think for this, you actually need my tongs, because they'll get them out without too much of that juice coming away, because I don't want to overcook those veg. Pop those around my meatloaf, which we will probably eat here. And then what I'm going to do is pop my other two baby ones that'll be perfect for 2 meals for Dad back in here. Max, go away. Max, you are not to come in. You can't cook. But there is my beautiful meatloaf. Hope you all enjoyed it, and see you next time.